There are 7,000 languages in the world, and within each language, there can be several different dialects. For example, there are 28 different French dialects spoken in 29 countries. Next up, we have a panel full of French speakers who will talk about the similarities and differences between the way they speak French. Allons-y!
Donc,
Bonjour.
salut.
Bonjour.
Salut, je m'appelle Chelsea.
Yeah, je m'appelle Brandon.
Je m'appelle Gédéon.
Gédéon. Enchanté à vous deux.
Oui, vous êtes d'où?
Ah, moitié congolais, moitié haïtien, so je parle en français.
English!
Oh, shit, my bad.
Speaking in English about your French dialect.
Oh.
I was like, wait, what? I mean, that was cool. Like, I like, we can do.
Je suis né à Montréal, mais j'ai déménagé à l'Ontario quand j'avais 5 ans. Et j'ai grandi plus ou moins à Cambridge. Et puis, ma mère est congolaise, puis mon père est haïtien. Donc, j'ai appris le français à la maison.
Je suis née à Mississauga, mais j'ai été élevée à Oakville. J'ai été à des écoles françaises toute ma vie jusqu'à l'université.
J'ai déménagé en France quand j'avais 1 an. Alors mes parents, ma mère, elle est canadienne et mon père, il est américain.
Je suis né à Montréal. C'est là-bas que j'ai appris le français en train de vivre avec mes parents. Quand j'étais en train de grandir, j'ai bougé beaucoup. J'ai commencé à Montréal, je suis allé à Sudbury, j'étais à Hamilton.
Je suis née en Toronto et j'ai étudié le français à l'école primaire et secondaire dans le programme d'immersion.
A lot of times speaking to my parents, I would use words in English that were like similar to like French words. And they would like correct me on that. They'll be like, hey, if you don't learn how to like use the words, like all the words in French, like when you go to France or if you go to like any French place, if you go back to Congo, they're gonna make fun of you and all of that. So like it was like that was like a switch that I had to kind of like get used to. And like as you can like hear with my French, I still use like English words and whatnot. And like till this day when I'm on the phone with my mom, she's like, you're losing your French, what's going on, da 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 da, you know what I mean?
Like coming to Canada afterwards, it was kind of like I had to relearn a lot of stuff because still I was speaking English to my parents, but I wasn't speaking like slang or I wasn't speaking how everyone else would be speaking. So I remember in grade 8, I came to like school and like I had to relearn like all slang words, like swear words. I had to like do all of that because I wasn't using it with my parents.
I do not come from a French-speaking background, so nobody in my family speaks French, so it's a little hard for me to practice the language, but I do try my best by listening to music in French. Like, I love Tyke and his music, for example, and I will watch shows in French just so it stays fresh in my brain.
Yeah, so there are, like, especially Latin words, like, it's always really the Latin-based words that we use in English and with, it's kind of like universal words. So there's a lot of spelling, like words that are spelled in a way that it's just one letter that changes, like the word blue. Like that was one of the words that I messed up the most because in English I would write it the French way because in French it's B-L-E-U, like bleu, but in English it's B-L-U-E, which is blue. So one of those that was really confusing for me as well.
I think one of my first words that I had difficulty with, I remember this, was guitar. Because U-I, it didn't make sense to me that it would be guitar, not guitar, and then it just wouldn't make sense to me. So I was always say like guitar.
Yeah, so what are some differences?
I've got to say, like, something that I found very funny. So my grandma had a daycare, and I babysat these kids, and their father was actually from France. And after they had eaten dinner, he offered them, like glace. And I was like, what's that? Like, you know, and then he pulled out ice cream.
Yeah.
And I was so confused. I was like, wait, you guys call it, because we say crème glacée.
See, we
right?
could say both, but I feel like most people, if they're just like talking casually, they'll say tu veux de la glace, and like that's like, do you want ice cream? Versus like crème glacée is like when you're like trying to be formal and proper.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna ask you, because you said Haitian as well. In Florida, the Haitian community is huge, so it's like that French is like so different compared to like the Quebec French. So
Now, what do you mean French?
like the dialect essentially.
Well, it's not-
Creole?
Creole,
Yeah.
Creole is its own language, man.
But you said a Haitian.
Like I'll get like, cause it'll mix,
Dialect.
right? In
Oh,
Montreal,
so it meshes
it's
up.
like Toronto here, where they mix patois and everything else
okay.
in.
Yeah,
Same thing in French. So they're gonna mix in Creole
yeah.
in the slang of Montreal.
God.
So that's what I mean
so
by
it's
like the
mix.
Montreal French. So it's a mix,
Makes sense. Makes
right?
sense.
But it's Creole,
Gotcha.
right? Like Kiet, that's like wow, like Kiet, man. You know, that's like wow,
Word.
like say word basically.
I
Right?
feel like that's the same too, because like I've had, so like obviously I grew up in France, so like I was speaking French from France like most of it, and then I'd go over, because I live here, and I'd go over to like Montreal and then like talk to people from there, and there was some words that they would say or a certain way they would say it that I would just be like, I can't really understand now, like what are you saying? Like the chaussette thing, I don't know, you guys call it what?
Les bas.
Les bas?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was so confused. I was like, what do you mean les bas?
Yeah.
But no, stuff like that. And even tabarnak,
yeah.
like the swear word, like no one uses it in France.
Yeah.
It kind of, we know about it, but like not really. So when I came here in grade 8, like someone was like, oh, tabarnak. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's fun that like with French, 'cause, like French is like an expressive like language,
Yeah.
and like everybody always speaks like with their hands and whatnot. But do you find that some dialects like speak a little bit more with their tonality and like their like body posture than other dialects?
I mean, I think it's the mix, right? Because let's say if you're Moroccan, right? I believe most Moroccans speak French, right? So they'll, in Arab influence will augment their like French,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
The way that they speak will just augment from that,
I feel that.
right? Same with Congolese.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if they want to insult you, they're gonna go Lingala and then go to French so you understand, and then go back to Lingala.
Yeah.
So, and then they'll use their hands because it's an expressive language, like you say.
Are there any other things that you find that were very different when you went to Quebec? I've had someone tell me that they didn't understand what I was saying at all.
Yeah,
Like,
like
I was-
sometimes when Quebecois people, like when I first went there and like they would speak really fast, but like it's not that it's so much like the speed, it's the fact that like I'm used to certain intonation and it's different. It's a little bit more like almost higher pitched in a way, and so like I would say something and then they'd get confused and I would get confused on
Yeah.
what they're saying, and we'd both be saying the same thing but completely
It's
different.
like you're speaking the same language but can't understand each other. It's funny. I know it's the same thing with Spanish too. There are so many different kind of dialects and stuff. I think what makes like the biggest difference is just it's not the language necessarily, it's our expressions.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I
we
think so.
use like I find our expressions a bit more vulgar than in France, but yeah, there's so many things like I've been told like, oh, I'm speaking too fast, or just I'll be like blank face. Like I'll be talking to someone, they're just looking at me like, huh?
What?
What language are you speaking?
Merci l'équipe de nous avoir invités. C'était très charmant d'être ici avec tous mes coéquipiers ici. And I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of all of us. Thank you for the team for inviting us to explain what our situations are in terms of French dialects. And yeah, we appreciate it.
Merci. Au revoir.
Merci.
Merci.
Salut.
Au revoir.